Hello friends and welcome back to my channel. Thank you as always to the EA Creator Network for providing me with codes for The Sims 4. I'm Cinderellimouse and I'm back today with another apartment build for the For Rent expansion pack. Now it is using any pack in the game. I've gone a bit wild. These are buildings that I've made for my own personal save. I'm going to have my own Sims living here eventually. So I've kind of did what I want with them, but I'm going to put them up on the gallery, and if anyone wants to grab them, you're absolutely welcome to renovate them, do as you please with them, re-upload them if you want to. I don't mind. Sharing is caring, although I wouldn't recommend enabling that neighborhood action plan. These are in the very, very gorgeous world of Sequoia, which is based on kind of San Francisco, like the Bay Area, I believe. Really, really gorgeous world. This came with Growing Together. And so with it being based on San Francisco, I was like, I'm going to make some painted ladies. I've also noticed all the other game changers have also made painted ladies for Sequoia. When they announced For Rent, I've seen quite a lot. So there's going to be plenty on the gallery for you to choose from. My imposter syndrome kicked in a little bit, but I actually am really, really pleased with how these builds turned out. They took me a while to complete. I've been working on them for a long, long time. My first couple of attempts I wasn't happy with, and I ended up scrapping them and kind of rebuilding. And then finally I've got these, and they are kind of what I was intending. I am quite pleased with how they've turned out. So I did look at a lot of the real world architecture of San Francisco and kind of like the painted lady style. I would say the architecture is kind of in this kind of almost updated Victorian, very Art Nouveau inspired, very kind of like William Morris arts and crafts inspired. So if you think of the art style of the Decor to the Max kit, that's kind of what I was picking up on. And looking at the kind of build by of Growing Together as well, it has this kind of antiquing feel. So this is kind of what I took and ran with. You can see that these buildings are over 3 floors. The bottom floor is kind of like this garage area. Cars, when Sims team, the first, what I would call the first floor, because I live in the UK, like Americans would call this the, I don't know, it's weird, right? Americans would call this the first floor and we would call this the ground floor. So I'm going to call this the ground floor, and then this is the first floor, just to confuse everybody. And then there's this upper floor as well. So there's 3 floors basically is what I'm trying to say. Now the building on the right is one big family home. You can see it's got 1 mailbox outside. The building on the left is 3 apartments over the 3 floors. So I'm going to show you the family home first. Hopefully that's the one that I've got loaded. Do you know what, actually, let me just show you the outside a little bit, just to kind of give you the feel of it. Kind of looking back at the build now, I'm kind of half thinking that I want to raise these turrets up one and have like the higher turrets, but not actually have them used. So if that's something you want to do yourself, absolutely go ahead. But yeah, you can see it's kind of like, they're kind of like older homes that have been modernized. They don't entirely fit in with the area, which I'm not super happy about. I feel like they'd fit really well with what's it called, not Moonwood Mill, the world that came with Realm of Magic. I feel like they'd suit really, really well there. Just the name of it has completely gone out my head for now. So yeah, like, because you can see I've used a lot of like the Realm of Magic build by with this. So yeah, I do feel like it's that kind of style. Kind of makes me think of the Charmed house as well. You know, like Charmed, the TV show about the witches. That was set in San Francisco, I think. So their kind of house had that kind of arts and crafts kind of oldie worldy charm about it. It was a really beautiful house. So all these kind of thoughts were going through my head when I was building these houses. I love kind of like the Strangerville doors and windows as well. And then the new tiles. Can we just have a second to talk about, look at this little toddler going. I've got the Björnchen family in this lot at the moment, just so I could kind of play test and kind of show you a little bit about it. So he's like wobbling around down there. I've not actually got any toddler stuff in this build, so he might be suffering a little bit. Fingers crossed it's not too bad. Yeah, the tiles from the For Rent expansion pack are absolutely beautiful. So you can see where I've used the floor tiles here. They just combine really, really well with the kind of more Victorian styling as well. So I can kind of build my favorite, like if I could pick my own personal home and like what it would look like, it would be that kind of like sort of Edwardian, late Victorian Edwardian architecture with like the gorgeous tiles and the stained glass windows, like that that kind of Victorian home would be my ideal home. So yeah, very, very much kind of in my element here. Look at Bjorn going up the stairs there. I think what I'm going to kind of show you first on this build then, oh God bless him, I kind of want to help him, but do you know what, it's good for his movement. God, I'm kind of scared. If this was real life, I'd be so scared that he'd fall down those stairs. Where is the parental supervision, guys? He's okay, he's going in. This little garage then, if I show you this, it's only accessible from the front. Sorry, I'm going so slowly. Here you go. So this again, with this idea of kind of like people having an interest in kind of like arts and crafts and hobbies and this kind of thing, I have got this little room for kind of like juice fizzing and candle making, and basically whatever the flavor of the week is, they can kind of like throw the little activity down here, because you know, it'd be lovely if I could put a car in there, Sims team, but you haven't given me those yet, so a little bit salty. Let's go up the stairs and kind of show you this house. Now this is the most, of all 4 units, this is kind of like the most eclectic. It's very, very vibrant. Think decor to the max kit meets kind of like antiquing, and that's the style. So it's very higgledy-piggledy. I've got this kind of green and red colour. I've not tiled the ceilings yet, guys, as well, so just please ignore that for me. Oh, hello, snacks. The movie has already started when Olive's tummy rumbles. Should she go and get a stack or stay put so she doesn't miss anything? Go to the kids. Go to the concession stand. Like, honestly, Olive Spectre. Oh my goodness. Right, if we can not have any more interruptions, please, while I'm doing this, that would be great. I might just cut them out if any more of those happen. So yeah, I've used the inspiration from the windows, this kind of like red and green colour, and kind of ran it throughout the house. And I know people say red and green should never be seen, but I think, do you know what, I'm just going to pause so we don't have any more interruptions. I think red and green are kind of beautiful. So I love this wallpaper. Reminds me, in the UK we have this like a decor shop called Laura Ashley, and they have this kind of William Morris style wallpaper a lot, and it's absolutely beautiful. I think this one would be called like Birds of Paradise or something like that. So yeah, I love this kind of wallpaper. I love this style. I think it's super cozy, really warm, really inviting. I think it's really gorgeous. So this big mirror here as well. Oh my God, I'm a vampire, I can't see myself. And then if we go through to the first reception room, oh my God, look at Bjorn, he's so adorable. What an absolute delight. Yeah, I've really ran with this kind of, it does make me think of the like the paranormal stuff, realm of magic, that kind of very ornate, very kind of like antique furniture, very mismatched, very higgledy-piggledy, but somehow it kind of works. It's honestly one of my favorite styles. I do find it quite difficult to do, so when I get it right, I'm really, really happy with it. So yeah, you can see I've used some of the growing together furniture here, which is very much inspired by kind of that antiquing lifestyle, and I'm really, really, really pleased with how this turned out. So just to kind of pause and talk about the area, I do see San Sequoia as being a very aspirational place. Again, if I'm kind of like taking my own thoughts of like what San Francisco is like, I do see it as like a very progressive place. You know, a lot of the people there want to be good people. They want to make a difference in the world. So they have a lot of this kind of left, like liberal values. So I've got lot traits like good schools, study spot, to kind of show the interest in kind of like self-improvement and bettering yourselves, bettering the future generations, and that interest in kind of like education and knowledge. And I've also kind of got things like Quake Zone, reduce and recycle, and all these kind of things that, you know, show that the people who live here are trying to make a difference, but they are quite privileged. It is an expensive place to live in my own mind. So these are not like cheap starter rentals. They are very much like you've got to have a little bit of money to live here, which I think is in keeping, you know, with the world itself. So yeah, really interesting kind of like pieces to kind of talk about and tell stories about. Maybe a little bit of an interest in kind of spirituality and things like that. If you think of all the kind of wellness groups and stuff that come out of the area in real life. So this little dining room here, again, the table and chairs are kind of mismatched. I like the idea of kind of, you know, maybe they had an attempt at painting one of the chairs. They weren't sure if they liked it or not, so they've left it for a bit. You know, maybe they have a lot of guests over, so the seats get moved around the house. They kind of go missing. They use different seats, you know, depending on like who's there and what the needs are of the house. So it's a very, very vibrant, active house in my imagination. A little antique radio there, a piano so you can get around and kind of cuddle up with the family and sing Christmas carols and do all those cute traditions. So very, very, very cute, very wholesome, very warm, very kind of like almost like don't worry if things get a little bit tattered, a little bit broken. I love that this table from Werewolves is kind of like propped up by a book. So yeah, it's kind of like a little bit make do and mend again, because there's a bit of an interest in you know, not being wasteful perhaps, and upcycling things. So even this kind of statue with the gold reminds me of the Japanese pottery that kind of, you know, when it breaks they piece it together with gold, and that becomes part of the object's journey and part of the object's story. So all these kind of values, you know, being in my imagination in the people who live in this specific build. So and again, a lot of respect for, you know, keeping things maintained as well. So the windows are not kind of like broken and damaged, but these kind of like the original windows, and people have taken time to kind of like repair them and keep them in good condition. So they have this kind of Victorian kitchen with this big gorgeous sink. I would love more counter sinks like this, because this is like, it fits in with the actual counters. So I would love more of those kind of big old-fashioned sinks. I kind of need more good kitchen sinks. And then yeah, this really, really gorgeous kind of old style kitchen, and it's a bit small, but I think they've got enough room to do kind of what they want to do in it. They've also got, of course, the new kettle, because I don't know, maybe grandma's British and like the little teas up there too. So very quaint. I feel like they've been watching like Bridgerton or something like that. This little kind of like patio area, so you do have the high school years window. You can kind of like jump out here if you want to, or take the door if you're kind of normal. And also these doors, I think these were from Strangerville, but they've got like this kind of crystal handle, which I think is absolutely so vintage and gorgeous. And I love this as like an interior door. So yeah, this kind of little kind of gardening area. You come out here, grow some herbs for the kitchen if you want to. It's also got the high school years trellising, so you can actually use that as a ladder if you want to, if you need to kind of make a sneaky quick exit, or you want to kind of get outside to the pool area. This is a shared pool area, so it's got like a bar, a hot tub, a pool, sun lounger, all that kind of good stuff. So you can get out there and kind of mingle with your neighbors if you want to do that. So if I just kind of like go back through, sorry, I'm not the best at this. Let's take a look upstairs next. So if we go kind of up here, this is kind of like a little bit of an office space. Again, in keeping with the same concept of everything's a bit mismatched, everything's a bit, but everything has value, everything's well maintained, everything's loved in this build. And then kind of gorgeous things like these vintage posters. I love these. More of this kind of thing, Sims team, and I'm kind of sad that they're not separate. It's like I love like the Le Chat Noir by what's his name, something Theofeld, and this kind of Art Nouveau style. It makes me think of oh, what's it called? Moulin Rouge, like that kind of style. Really, really nice pictures there. I can't get enough pictures. Like the more pictures in the game, the better. This is from Cats and Dogs as well. I sized it down one, but it's such a funny picture. It's like the dogs that play poker, but they're playing Don't Wake the Llama, and I think it's super duper adorable. Things as well like the little, like the sun sculpture, because again, like this idea of like wellness and, you know, spirituality and things that kind of crosses over into these kind of builds. And again, these, I love these shelves from Growing Together with the kind of like repurposed suitcases. I think that's a really, really cool idea. Yeah, gorgeous kind of antique desk there as well. Very jealous. I would love to have one of those writing desks. And this little patio area out here as well with the vintage telescope, so you can look out over the bay, look for aliens, because when we know they're out there, the truth is out there somewhere, guys. Yeah, just watch the boats go by, sitting by the dock of the bay, all that good stuff. You can come and bring your cup of tea up here, or coffee because we're in America, and kind of sit out here and just, you know, watch the world go by, have a moment, chat with your neighbour across the way. Really, really cute little space. This door as well from Realm of Magic is absolutely glorious. I love that it looks kind of like a tree. There's different swatches on there as well, so if you'd prefer a different swatch that's less ornate, you can absolutely do that. Like the little windows as well, like just peeking out, like there's such good views. This door leads to the main bedroom, the master bedroom. Again, very ornate, very kind of warm but mismatched in a really nice way. Again, they've got one of those amazing Realm of Magic windows. You can take the curtain off if you want to see that any better. Just a really gorgeous space. I would love this house. I would be so at home here. I would feel like the queen. There's a little bedroom, there's a little bathroom as well off here. So again, just kind of like antique-y style furnishings. Really cute little space. Also, shout out all the tiles that we've had recently in the game. So these ones on the ground are from For Rent. Again, just such gorgeous floor tiles in that pack. I wish there was matching wall tiles. If you're looking for matching wall tiles for the For Rent floor tiles, my friend Peacemaker is working on a set currently, so hopefully we'll see those soon. Like, my absolute hero. These wall tiles are from high school years, I believe, and I think some more wall tiles came with Growing Together. So the tile game has been really, really good recently. I just love this style so much. This is the new shower that came with For Rent, so really, really cute little functional bathroom there. Let's go all the way back down the stairs. I'm sorry if this is kind of like motion sickness for anybody. I'm just going to go straight through the staircase and we'll go down to the basement area. Now this is kind of like a little bit of a rec room, a little bit of a family room. I've not really decorated it very much. Honestly, there's some empty spaces because I just wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with it yet. So I'm kind of leaving this up to you, depending on what activities. And again, absolutely gorgeous wallpaper from Decors to the Max. I wish we had more wallpapers. I really love patterned wallpapers. It's something I wish we had more of in the game, especially kind of retro patterns, sort of like 70s kind of kitsch wallpapers. I would really love more of those kind of geometric prints and things like that. But yeah, more wallpaper, more tiles, please, Sims team. Like, doing a really good job, but I just need more. I mean, more choice, more options, more colours. Yeah, so you can do whatever you want with this, depending on what hobbies and interests your Sims have. You can kind of start to fill up this space. I don't personally like to over decorate my builds. You know, I prefer to have them a little bit simple so that you can move your own Sims in, and kind of as you're playing with them, you can kind of personalize the space over time. You know, starting to put up your own pictures or your own crafts, or you know, your own photos of the family and things like that. I want to leave room for improvement. I sometimes find that if I move into a build created by other creators, I can sometimes find them kind of so overly cluttered that I feel like I can't put my own, like, I can't, like, it's beautiful because it gives this really lived in feel, but it also makes me feel like in order to put my own imprint of the family that I'm playing with there, I have to kind of like delete what that other person's done, and I don't like to do that. So I really do prefer, if possible, to build my own builds for my own purposes and put my own style on it over time. So my builds can be slightly plainer. It is kind of intentional. Of course, I could go in and overly clutter if I wanted to, but you know, I do see myself as, I'm kind of a bit of a jack of all trades. So you know, I'm not the best builder, I'm not the best at cast, but the things that I do are very much kind of like from myself and from my heart, and like what I want from the game. So yeah, hopefully other people find them useful. Like, there has been a discussion in the community recently about what should builds be like if you're sharing them, and not everybody's building for the same reasons, and I don't think there should be one set rule. I know there's some creators out there who are purely builders, like all they do is build, and they build absolutely amazing looking, brilliant kind of pieces of art that are so impressive, but they can't, not always necessarily playable, because that's not the purpose of the build. And then you get other people who build really, really functional, useful builds that are brilliant for gameplay, but maybe they are a bit more simple, and you know, maybe they do get overlooked. So I think it's interesting to kind of find the balance. yeah, and kind of find things that are you know, and find creators that match your needs. You know, like you don't necessarily need the best looking build if you're looking for gameplay. I don't know. So it's different things for different people. I don't think we should say there's a right or wrong way to do it. This little bathroom here, again, functional, adorable. It's just kind of like a little guest bathroom. There is another kind of little family bathroom over here with a bathtub. So if you have got toddlers, you know, you can absolutely get down here and use that. This little room over here, so this is like the two kids bedrooms. This is like the younger child bedroom. I did decorate it with like a young girl in mind, but you can redecorate if you want to. The idea being like they want to be famous, they're into the pop music, so they'll like do the singing and dancing in front of the mirror, a little bit of a girly girl, a little bit of a princess. And I've got this kind of photo frame. I think it's one of the rewards, but it is in the build already. So again, you can personalize the space with your own family photos as you take them. This little cute record player is like so vintage and so adorable. I really like this room. And then she's kind of got this old TV. So I do see the family that live here as being, maybe they're not really keen on their kids kind of sitting down and watching TV or consuming kind of YouTube or playing computer games. You know, they're really into self-actualization rather than kind of like receptively watching other people's content, you know, like we all do. I am guilty of that too. I spend so much of my life on YouTube and TikTok. But the family who live here, again, they prefer the kids to be, you know, creating their own things, drawing, painting, writing plays, I don't know, you know, doing something that they see as productive and educational. So there's no other TVs in the house. There's only TVs in the children's room because I feel like the children pestered that much. So I feel like, you know, eventually the parents relented, but they got this kind of really old TV. It's like, we're not spending money on a brand new TV for you. So it's kind of like they're making do with this, like watching the Scooby-Doo or whatever. This is ground level as well. You can see it's like out on street level, so they have got these blinds to give them a little bit of privacy. But yeah, that's kind of what they've got going on. So if we kind of whiz through here and kind of go around to the teenagers room, the teenagers, there's two, oh look, he's asleep there. This is not your room. Listen, what's her name? Something Burgson. I can't remember her first name. Like this is like meant to be the teenagers room. So they kind of like teamed up on the parents, you know, and kind of asked for a little bit of technology for Christmas. I feel like teenagers, you know, get their own way eventually with a huge amount of nagging. I feel like they were saying something like, hey, we want to be, you know, we live in Silicon Valley. We want to be computer game developers. We're going to need, you know, if we want to make games, we need to be able to play games. So I feel like they used this kind of argument on the parents. So they have got a games console, they have got this TV and kind of this kind of media console unit from Tiny Living. I can't get my words out. Yeah, so they've got this kind of media console unit from Tiny Living. I really love this style. So kind of like nifty knitting, Tiny Living, what is it? Dream home decorator, the kind of IKEA style that we were getting with that time period. I absolutely love so much. So I've got this kind of yellow and teal color combination throughout this room, and I love these Snowy Escape kind of wall murals in this teenage environment with this kind of color combo. I think it looks really modern, really cool. I really like this space. So over here as well, you know, it's a teenage room, so you know they've got the brand new trainers. They've been, I don't know, maybe this is like a side hustle, they buy and sell trainers or something like that. I was watching a really cool video where someone was dip dyeing Air Force Ones and creating this kind of like marbled effect on them, and it looks so cool. And I've got a really old battered pair of Air Force Ones, and I'm like, maybe I want to clean them up and give that a try myself. Like they're pretty much wrecked, so I can't make them any worse than they already are. So over here, like next to the kids' bed, they've got this box of tissues and magazines. you know, you can tell your own story around that. I'm going to say that they've been crying over a celebrity. Again, this brilliant wall mural, this desk space with this kind of like tablet and snacks on there as well. So they can do the homework there or do some coding or whatever it is they want to do. Now, the interesting feature of this room is it has got the high school years window. So your teenagers are going to be able to sneak out if they want to hang out with their friends. My eldest as well was like, give them a welcome mat. I was like, I don't know what to put in this space that's not going to block the window. They're like, put a welcome mat there, it'll be funny. So thank you to my eldest, who is a teenager, for giving me that inspiration. So yeah, I thought if you want to tell a bit of a Romeo and Juliet story as well, the teenage room over here does also have these windows. So if you wanted to have them kind of sneak out to meet, you could do that, or just sneak out to a party together. That is a story that you could tell if you want to. Again, just be careful you don't fall in the pool if you're coming home a little bit tipsy from the prom. But yeah, this really cool space out here that you Okay, so moving on to apartment 1A, which is this ground floor apartment here. Now, the exterior is in keeping with the rest of the houses, with the rest of this build, but the interior has been renovated. So if I can just zoomy over here, just to point out these bins as well, with this lot having kind of like an eco-conscious community feel, you are going to have to sort your recyclables. I do recommend kind of putting those lot trays and kind of tenant rules on the lot. So as I say, the exterior of this build is this kind of arts and crafts craftsman style. If we kind of go in, the interior has been completely renovated. Now you can see outside it is Thorn Bailey, Octavia Moon and Orange Bailey Moon who live here currently. I did create this build with a kind of rock band in mind. Maybe you know, the person who lives here is a member of some kind of pop group or rock band, so they have like, they entertain a lot. They've got this bar, they've got all these records out to kind of like go through and get some inspiration for the next albums. They've got this kind of little entertainment center here, so they do a lot of entertaining. They are perhaps a little bit of a noisier group of tenants than perhaps some of the other tenants of this build, which again you could create some controversy with, you could create some friction with, or you could have just, you know, a really interesting creative community. It's up to you the way that you play this. So this is actually the garage area. You can see these big garage doors here, but it's been renovated to be a very cool bedroom. There's all this kind of like nostalgia as well of kind of like the trips, the touring. I've used these kind of like suitcases and kind of music cases to kind of show that they've got this kind of touring, always on the road lifestyle. They're not always here in my mind. You've also got these instruments in here, so if you want to use the great acoustics of this garage to kind of, you know, practice your music and, you know, do some jamming, you can absolutely do that here too. This ties in really well as well with the build that I've got going on in San Myshuno that has this kind of rebellious record label quality to it. So if you want to tie that theme through with the kind of wolf motifs, you can absolutely do that. There's this little bathroom here. It's like a little guest bathroom. It's just a toilet, but across here you've got like the family bathroom with this really cool kind of crow guitar shower curtain, which I think is very rock and roll and very in keeping with this build. But yeah, just a very modern style bathroom. Absolutely love these tiles from Growing Together. Thank you so much, Sims team, for fulfilling my tile dreams. Again, you've got like another music case coffee table here, so the theme carries through this entire build. It is a smaller build, but it is intended to have like either like a group of young adults or a family here, because there's a second bedroom which I'll show you in a second. So this is the little kitchen area. Again, modern, functional, clean, really like it. And you know what, if the rest of the rock band are over and they're kind of in the hot tub, you can just pass the brewskis out of the window and kind of chat as you can, like cooking up the nibbles. You can pass things through. I think that's like a cool little storytelling thing there. This is like the teenager children's room, whatever you want the second bedroom to be. Basically, it's got a bunk bed in here and this really cool gaming setup as well. So a more modern family lives here in contrast to the more antique-y, old-fashioned traditional family across the way. So again, you can have a bit of a Romeo and Juliet story going on if you kind of want to have your teenage teenager climb out this window and meet with the teenager from this household, you could absolutely do that if you wanted to have some conflict. Or you could just see it as like two creative families who you know, have different interests but love to support each other. You know, whatever story you want to tell with that, you can absolutely tell it. Hello, my Lord and Saviour. With me seeing this as a more privileged area, the two family units do have good schools, so you know your kids are going to get a bit of a boost to their homework, they're going to learn skills more quickly and that sort of thing. However, these two units have single adults in mind, so instead of good schools, I've put the study spot lot tray on these. So if you wanted to have somebody who is attending university but not necessarily living in Brightchester or Foxbury, you could have them live here and they're still going to be able to get those kind of study bonuses. Okay, so moving on to the little granny flat, which is unit 1B. And currently I've got Agnes Crumplebottom and her dead husband, Eric Darling, living here. I'm just going to kind of pause to show you their unit. So this is my version of Agnes Crumplebottom that I had before Henford on Bagley. If we go in through here, we have this little kind of shared space, this kind of little landing area here with the gorgeous artwork that came with the, what was it, the Modern Looks kit. So if we go through here, we find the little granny flat. It's so cute. I really like this space. So she's got this little vintage telly. She's got her little tea set, her little crocheting box there. And then she's got this kind of little, you can have a guy living here, you know, whoever you want. And again, if you want to renovate it, that's absolutely fine. But there's also this keyboard here. So you could tell a story. I've put Peace and Quiet, the Peace and Quiet lot tray on this lot. So if you wanted to have an older person living here and create some conflict with the noisy rock band who's always having parties below, you could do that. If you wanted to use the tenancy agreement to kind of control the spaces as well, to have those kind of tenant rules broken if you wanted to, that's a story that you could play. Or you could have it again as just everybody who lives here are very artistic people, and perhaps this person may be really into classical music and maybe they bond really well with the family downstairs and kind of the rock band, and maybe they really bond over their shared love of music. So the stories that you want to tell are completely up to you with this space, but I've kind of set up for those whichever direction you want to take that. So yeah, again, this is intended to be for maybe a widower, maybe a single elder person who's just kind of like living their best retirement life, watching the world go by, you know, enjoying being part of the hustle and bustle of the city, but having their own kind of peace and quiet and separation from it as well in their own little unit. I love as well, like you can look out and see the street piano out there. So again, maybe this person kind of, you know, plays music for themselves but also plays music for the community if you want to kind of like use that world storytelling. And then this really cute little vintage kitchen here, which is so adorable. I really love, again, so much that I love, like the cottage living kitchen, the kind of vintage fridge. I can't remember where that came from. This kind of antique-y, old-fashioned but expensive looking oven that came from Growing Together. Really love that as well. The Growing Together tiles, it's just all such a gorgeous combination. There is this little kind of seating breakfast bar as well, so you do have like a little dining space even though it's a very small unit. This is just like the little bathroom. Again, it's got kind of the vintage antique-y style going on with it. Again, I love these high cistern toilets, these Victorian toilets. I would love to get a more kind of like rundown, kind of dirty looking alternative, because this one is quite fancy, you know, the kind that you used to get in kind of like old school buildings or old factories. I would love kind of one of those versions. And yeah, this is their little bedroom. I love it so much. It kind of reminds me of my nana's house. My nana lost her husband when I was a little girl, so I was about 6 when my grandpa died, and then my nana has only just died this last year, so she lived so many years kind of without her husband. And she did date, she had her boyfriends, but you know, she maintained her independence right up to kind of like the later stages of her life. And so it kind of does remind me of that. She lived in Llandudno as well, which is like close to the sea, and she had like windows that looked out over the Orme and kind of all that kind of stuff. So it does kind of remind me of like my nana's space. So I'm very nostalgic about it. I think it's really, really cute. And she's even got this little photo by the bed, which I think is like, I mean, I think it's Bob Pancakes and Eliza looking at it, but you know, you could say that that is like her wedding day. And like, again, I've got Agnes Crumplebottom in here who is a widower. She did lose her husband, Eric Darling. So, you know, telling those kind of stories in these spaces is really, really cute, I think. But again, you know, there's something really nostalgic about it. I love that you've got this, oh, excuse me, phone. There's something really nostalgic about it. I love that you've got this view of the bay, of kind of like the shipping area. And I just think it's such a gorgeous little storytelling area. You know, you could sit here and kind of like write your postcards, write your letters. I wish we had letter writing. That would be a really cute little feature, I think. And then this little balcony space as well. So you can sit out here on your rocking chair and kind of watch the world go by. Think about what you're going to leave behind, you know, that kind of thing. And this painting easel as well, if you want to kind of get creative out here too. It'd be great for photographers as well. I could definitely imagine a photographer living in this space. Speaking of which, let me show you the upstairs apartment. Okay, so the final unit is designed with a young adult in mind who perhaps is at university. I see them as being someone who's very romantic, somebody who perhaps, you know, they really love kind of like the vintage style, but perhaps they, sorry, my phone's beeping in the background. They really love the vintage style, but they kind of, you know, they like to have, maybe they're on Instagram and TikTok and they post a lot of like vintage pictures, like vintage cooking tutorials and that kind of thing. So yeah, very romantic character. They really love kind of like, you know, the old-fashioned ways of life. I imagine they read romantic novels and things like this. So this is their little kitchen. Again, very, very quaint. They haven't got an oven up here. I feel like that's some kind of like building regulation. So they've got these little appliances like the rice cooker and the blender, and you can add more as well if you want to, because they're inventoryable, so you can kind of put them in your Sims inventory and switch them out as you need to. It'd be cool if these were like functional cupboards, I think, but I don't know. Maybe that would work, maybe it wouldn't. And again, just a very, very cute little area. So they've got all these kind of like vintage posters, vintage pictures. I'm so sorry, I have tried to kind of like throw my phone further away from me. Yeah, these kind of vintage posters, vintage pictures. It's kind of like a studio apartment as well. It is very, very small. So they haven't got like a living room, but they've got this bedroom with this little study area too. Again, really gorgeous views. They can kind of like look out over the city. I imagine maybe they are like a literature student or something like that. Maybe they're a writer. So they take a lot of inspiration from the world around them. So they kind of watch the world go by and sit here and kind of read their romance novels and kind of, you know, do you ever do that thing where you kind of, you sat in a coffee shop and you're kind of watching people go about the day and you kind of invent what, you know, where they're going, who they're meeting, you know, what job they're doing, and you kind of tell these little stories about strangers in the street in your mind. Again, very nostalgic person. They've got this kind of like box of kind of old pictures and things up there. Speaking of which, they have these old vintage pictures which I imagine that they found in some kind of like antique shop, and they use that to kind of like create characters for their stories. A little bit like there's a Taylor Swift song, I think it's called Timeless, where she talks about that. She talks about going past like an antique shop and finding this box of old photos and kind of like seeing them and imagining, you know, she lived that life with her lover, you know, and they loved each other throughout time. So again, very, very romantic style, very much a storyteller, and kind of using these antiques from the past to tell their stories, which I think is really adorable. They have got this little bathroom as well. Again, just a simple little thing. You might want to put a curtain up. I haven't, because I didn't really want to cover this really pretty window, but again, you might want to protect your privacy. They're on the 3rd floor though, the 2nd floor, depending on how you count floors. Yeah, it's up to you really. Again, absolutely gorgeous tiles from For Rent. I love them so much. So yeah, really, really cute little space. Again, very, very kind of ripe for storytelling. And again, I do imagine that the kind of like, you know, writer, photographer, you know, they're taking those Instagram pictures, they're creating that social media content. Again, having this kind of like vintage lifestyle where, you know, this old movie star glamour. So they have this little area out here as well, now where they can come and kind of, you know, maybe grow a couple of flowers, maybe do some flower arranging, create their own, you know, again, very arts and crafts inspired. So they're doing those kind of like 5-minute crafts kind of TikTok videos, YouTube shorts, yeah, just they've got this little vintage tea set out here as well, and this like sun lounger. So I imagine that they come out and kind of, you know, they sunbathe in their little vintage bikini, and like they have their tea and they tell their like little story times. Really, really, really cute. And you know, maybe looking for love as well, like the single, but you know, they dream about having one of those kind of, you know, wartime whirlwind romances. I just imagine like that's kind of the personality of the person who lives in this unit. And of course they can come out and kind of have a chat with whoever lives over in the big family unit. So that's basically it. That's the build. So again, you're welcome to kind of move your own Sims in and tell your own stories, redecorate as needs be. If you want to use these just for the shells, you can absolutely do that. I don't mind if people want to re-upload them, but hopefully people find a little bit of use out of them. Again, I think these would work really, really well in the Realm of Magic world as well. I can't remember what it's called. It's like the name of that world's completely gone out of my head, but if you wanted to use it in the Realm of Magic world, I think it'd suit really well there as well, maybe even in Strangerville too. Yeah, let me know what you think. If you are going to use these builds for yourselves and you take screenshots, I would love for you to share them with me. You can share them with me. My social media links are down below. Really easy to send me screenshots and tag me in on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, let me know if you're using these builds or any of my Sims. I love seeing my content in other people's games. But that's it. Yeah, again, just a quick note to say there does appear to be a little bit of a bug or a problem with placing down residential rentals from the gallery. So what you're going to find is if you try and place a residential rental on any other kind of lot type, it's going to be kind of like grayed out, and it's going to say that you can't place them on that lot. Just go into build mode and change the current lot to a residential rental, and that'll kind of green light it, and you'll be able to place any residential rental down on that lot. So just a little tip there if you're getting a bit stuck. But yeah, I'll leave that with you. Let me know what you think down in the comment box down below. Shush phone. And I hope you enjoy my builds, and I do like to try and give back in whatever way I can. Again, I've created these for myself because I want them in my own gameplay, but I do love to share my builds with you all, just in case anyone finds them useful, because you know, we're not all builders, or sometimes, like I say, I tried to build these like 3 or 4 times myself and I just couldn't do it, and I was tempted to kind of like get another creator's builds because it was like the similar style to what I wanted to do, but ultimately I do want to tell my own stories. I do have my own characters, and I am very happy that I built my own lot. So again, if you're not the best builder, I do encourage you to give it a try. Sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. You know, you don't have to be like, I'm a terrible builder if you're struggling with one build. You know, switch styles. Maybe try a build style that's not your usual, you know, that you wouldn't normally use, and just see what happens and play around. If it doesn't work out, it's not wasted time. You've been experimenting. That's creative. That's learning. So yeah, I do really encourage people, even if you think you're not the best builder, I do think there's a lot of satisfaction from you know, creating your own builds for your own Sims and telling your own stories, and I strongly encourage you to experiment with that. All right, I'm gonna go. Take care. Have a good week. I will see you again soon. Bye, friends.